The suspended Rivers State Governor, Siminalayi Fubara, has denied any links to militant groups. In a statement issued by his chief press secretary, Fubara warns against attempts to incite violence or economic sabotage in his name. He was reacting to trending videos alleging explosions at oil and gas installations in the state, which he describes as fake and malicious. He also emphasized that he has no connection with any militant group and would not encourage any criminal activity that could threaten peace or economic stability.
Now, the declaration of a state of emergency in Rivers State continues to reverberate across Nigeria. Let's now cross live to Port Harcourt, the city in the eye of the storm, and speak to Sogboye Eli, who is a lawyer and the former chairman of Degama local government area in Rivers State. Thank you so much for joining us on Newsnight tonight. Maybe we should start from this latest one where the suspended governor Sim Fubara has been defending, trying to protect his integrity. He's saying, look, I have no links whatsoever with militants in the Niger Delta, and all the bombings or fire situations we've been having with pipelines have absolutely nothing to do with me. What do you make of this latest development?
All right, good evening. Thanks for having me. Let's just say we should take a deep breath on issues like this. A state of emergency has been declared by the President and Commander-in-Chief pursuant to Section 305 of the Constitution, and all eyes are on Rivers State. The governor's spokesman had made a statement. Now, what I would advise in times like this, I was speaking to a security agent yesterday. I was cross-checking facts and issues. And sometimes we have to do due diligence. Most times in our country, even for criminal prosecutions, we get it wrong because we don't do due diligence when it comes to investigations. And we'll rush to court with charges that cannot be sustained in cause of prosecution. So, more often than not, the accused persons walk away free men. And some other times, the prosecution gets tired and then abandons the case, and then they struggle for want of diligent prosecution. So, my take on this is the political atmosphere here is quite charged. Whilst people are still trying to get themselves the right bearing and come to terms with the reality that the governor and the assembly are on suspension. Let's not also exacerbate the issues by driving on the narrative that does not have a foundation in logic and in fact. I think that security agencies should be allowed to do their work dispassionately and let them unravel whatever is behind. More often than not, in the area where we had the MEND, which is Movement for Emancipation of Niger Delta, when these kind of things happen, groups that are responsible come out to say, we did this, and this is the reason why we're doing it. That leaves no one in doubt whatsoever. So when it happens this way, and even industry operators have not come to tell us if there was a sabotage or this is a system failure, we should be very careful how to ascribe blame, so we don't create a further foggy picture of what's going on here.
Well, thank you for that response. There have been more response over the weekend, more of knocks on the federal government. Former President Goodluck Jonathan says the decision puts Nigeria in bad light. Nobel laureate Wole Soyinka calls it a betrayal of federalism. The federal government and the APC say it was a necessary step to stabilize the state. But you are in Rivers State as a stakeholder. How do the people of Rivers State see what has happened in their state so far?
Well, the general feeling on the streets is one of studied silence, for want of the appropriate expression. First, we're not used to this. In the history of Rivers State, there has never been any time we had the state of emergency declared in a civilian dispensation. I was a child when my father Okilo was governor of Rivers State, 1979-83. I also saw when Ada George became governor. Both systems, both the Second Republic and the Aborted Republic, were taken out by a general sweeping military coup that occurred across the country. But this is like a peculiar case happening for the first time in the Fourth Republic, that the governor of Rivers State is taken out mid-term. So people are approaching the issue with some kind of studied silence and some bit of apprehension, because it's strange to us. Above all, because the issues had not quite gone to that level where you think that tension had become so palpable. We got to a point where we are now at the breaking point where nothing, if nothing is done, the state will be blown to smithereens. The president had made the declaration. I give it to him. He's in the position where he has intelligence that are not available to most of us on the streets or ordinary citizens. But by and large, for those of us who are here, we had the semblance of what looks like a pure security crisis in the transition period between 2007, when Amechi was coming in from where Omeya was, when militants were all over the streets and people had to raise their hands on the streets to walk. That was where we found a bit of edgy security situation in this state. Other than that, this what we had now was more like some kind of power tussle. And I was one of those who are of the view that the political solution wasn't going to work, because if you read through the presidential directive of that year, that December 2003, it didn't quite show like we have an approach that has the middle of the road approach that will divide the issues and then dissect issues and bring what looks like a dispassionate approach to solving the problem. So moved on to having matters in court where the governor had to at some point pull out from before Justice Omotosho, his defense, and from that point onwards, it has been spiraling down. But outside of that, when the courts finally made the determination in the Supreme Court, even though some of these actors here were not quite comfortable with the fact that the issue of defense was not addressed the way it should have been right from bottom up, from the trial court on. But the Supreme Court has spoken at that level. So people were watching what will happen thereafter before this banger came from Abuja. So I think people have been to get used to the shock and are adjusting to see what goes on. And I'm watching administrator here taking off well, and hopefully it's in the right direction.
Well, great. Now, I mean, you said moments ago that a political solution is not, viable. Will not work. What are the options if a political solution will not work? Because apparently it looks like the Supreme Court or the judiciary stepping in has really not solved the problem. What would be the options then? And secondly, we've been hearing from the Information Minister that the state of emergency may not last as long as 6 months if necessary, situations are put in place. Does that give you any comfort that things may return to normalcy sooner than later?
Yeah, we must be back on the path of constitutionalism, like other parts of the country. I welcome that. I think every reversement out there will welcome that. But my point about political solutions is, in the very nature of politics, it is a game driven by interest. So it depends on who is piloting the truth-seeking system. If anybody appears before an arbitration panel and they find a panel that is unable to show neutrality, you can find at the end of the day that the findings of that panel cannot deliver on the objective. I think what we saw here up to now is a situation where most of the blame is passed on one direction, in this case the governor. And that is not going down with a lot of Rivers people who are watching the situation very closely. People think that blames are not apportioned appropriately and dispassionately. The House of Assembly has its own blame. The House of Assembly itself is fired up by certain interests that are outside of here. A lot of them are loyal to the FCT minister, and people think that the problem is between the FCT minister and the governor. Whatever relations they had on the way to elections, as Rivers people were no more interested, he has become governor, and that's it. That's what it is. So if you're going to handle the matter politically, you must identify that as the root of the crisis and deal with it dispassionately. Anything outside of that is playing to the gallery, and it doesn't going to work. It wasn't going to work. And that's why when the Supreme Court came with the legal solution, and the governor made one or two moves to go and present the budget, we saw what happened. And from that point onwards, it was like a fast forward of the crisis instead of the solutions to come. So we have the view that if a political solution must come, then people must come down from the high horse and deal with issues on the facts and on the merits, not minding whose ox is God. That way, all the parties will go home satisfied. And Rivers people to see that justice has been done.
And the way you see the situation at hand, do you see anybody coming down from that imaginary high horse anytime soon before the 6 months initially stated? Also, I wanted to ask you, how much of this stems from the kind of democracy we practice, the politics that plays out in Rivers State, where powerful godfathers install godsons and then they break away, and then there's a tussle where individual politics is placed higher than institution stability?
Okay, that's a very beautiful question. Let's take us back to time. The closest we got to this was in 1999 when the late Dr. Mashari was state chairman of the PDP. Shortly after the governor, Dr. Peter Dele, emerged, the relationship got strained. I think it began with issues about appointments, who was going to be secretary to state government. Essentially, the current senator representing me, Rivers West Senator Ipalibo Bandigo, was the SSG in the military transition from Governor Samuel Wang that brought Governor Dele on board. We understand that the state chairman at the time wanted her to remain, but the governor had other ideas and appointed Dr. B. Sekibo, who later became transportation minister. Even that relationship was a bit foggy, but it got to a point where I think matters got ahead. Mashari had to leave the PDP, headed to ANPP, and so on and so forth before he finally was killed in Abuja. It wasn't that brazen in terms of godfather-godson relationship. It was a party chairman and the candidate issue. Here you have a situation where not only for Fubara as a governorship candidate, who is now governor now, the former governor practically has said it openly. He bought a form for everybody in the PDP. Senators, other candidates, House of Representatives candidates, House of Assembly candidates, and of course the governor. And so it's a question of the leadership recruitment process was built on having a one-man control system, and that does not work in a democracy. So it was only a matter of time before the bubble burst. So we're not surprised that it turned the way it turned out. As Rivers people, we want to see government deliver at all levels, and everybody must keep his lane according to the provision of the Constitution. Right. And there's sort of overlapping functions or unnecessary contest for power. It's not helping us. If you go through town, I belong to the APC. We've seen projects running. We've seen a few things going on, but because of this crisis, we're seeing the likelihood. I was causing somebody today on the road that leads to our area, the Transcarbary Road. The man his village doesn't have the capacity to take a car down. So this road that brought the first time, brought the car to his place for the first time. His fear is that if this crisis continues, that road may not continue. So that's one example of what has gone on, why people are getting apprehensive. Now this crisis must be nipped in the bud in good time so we can have our state back.
Absolutely, absolutely. It's not only the governor that was suspended or the House of Assembly. Governance, according to you, has also been suspended in Port Harcourt, in Rivers State as a whole. Thank you so much. Sugboye Ila is a lawyer, former chairman, Degema local government area of Rivers State. Thank you for joining us on Newsnight.